Any health-related information on the following show provides general information only. Content presented on any show by any host or guest should not be substituted for a doctor's advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any new diet, exercise, or treatment program.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Inspired and Empowered Living TV show and podcast. And we are live Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, and my YouTube channel. And today we are going to be talking about creative freedom, opening and unlocking your limitless potential. And during today's show, we're going to be talking about breaking through your blocks, expanding your vision, igniting your creative flow, trusting your unique ideas, and stepping into abundance. And it's time for you to break free, create boldly, and thrive. Yay. And I'm your host, Nancy Deutsch, licensed clinical social worker, certified hypnotherapist, and intuitive business expert. I combine my counseling, coaching, and intuitive abilities to transform your life and your business so that you can create more income, impact, and trust your intuition. And this show is not a replacement for therapy or counseling. It is for educational purposes only. And let's talk creativity. So at the end of last show, all of a sudden I got the download. I got the hit that we needed to talk creativity. Like last show, we were talking about your authentic self and being your authentic self and learning to really tap into it. And when you are in that energy of creation, when you're in the energy of creativity, you are being your authentic self. And creativity and learning to tap into that creative flow is crucial and essential for a thriving life and business. In order to create your life and create the abundance, the health, the relationships that you want, whether it's your life or your business, tapping into creation and being creative is going to be a game changer for you. So stay tuned because we're talking all about creativity. And we have Anastasia who asks, are we all able to be creative? So Anastasia, very interesting that you asked that question. The truth of the matter is, every single human being on this planet, we are all creating all the time. Now, the key here is to become a conscious creator and to be able to create from that place of consciousness and really clarity and knowing what it is you want to create and allow that energy of creativity to flow through you. And so, yes, we are all creating all the time. Now, that what I'm feeling is I need to give my Psych 101 lesson so we're all on the same page. And I see your question, Mickey, and I'll get to it shortly. So your conscious mind, now your conscious mind may come up with an idea or you think about something you want in your life. Because when you're working on manifesting, or when you are being creative, like allowing yourself to create, cooking is creative, can be a creative process. Um, Painting, drawing, writing, those are examples of the creative process. But we are creating our life. Manifesting is a creative processing. Manifesting the life you want is a creative process. So what happens is you think about what you want. That's your conscious mind making a very clear, conscious decision. This is what I want. However, your subconscious mind, from the moment you were to conceive to present time, has recorded every moment that you've been alive. And so there are limiting beliefs and emotions that will block that creative flow, that will block you from being able to allow yourself to be in the energy of creation. And so your job is to understand, what are those subconscious blocks? What are the limiting beliefs? And what are the emotions that would be blocking my creative flow or my creativity? And then you have your superconscious mind. And when you're in that creative flow, you are connected. You are connected to and with your superconscious mind. It's you being and feeling and sensing your higher self. It is you being, feeling, and sensing your soul, because you are in the energy of creation. And yes, you are creating all the time, Anastasia. So everyone is able to be creative. Now, there are people who tend to be, may be more creative than others. Okay, everyone is able to be creative. So let's just make that very clear. And yes, there are some people that can be more creative in certain areas, but I also want you all to realize that each of you is really unique unto yourself, and that you need to find, and I really want to support you in finding your creative genius. What is it that you love to do that is easy for you, but not easy for someone else? So, something to think about is really getting in touch with how your creative genius, and yes, you all have it. You all have a creative genius, because that's the gifts that you have come in with on a soul level. Those are the things that you're really good at that someone else isn't. And sometimes you may not even realize that you're good at it. And so that's what I want to have you think about and explore during the show, is what am I really good at that maybe other people aren't? Start being opening to possibilities of creativity that maybe you haven't been open to before. I invite you all to be open to those possibilities. Okay. And then we have Mickey, who asks, where can our creativity take us? Mickey, our creativity is it is when we're in that creative space, it takes us to unlimited places and spaces and abilities, and we can creatively problem solve and see things and feel things and know things in different ways that normally, when we're not in that creative process, we may not be in touch with. And so your creativity is and each one of you, I want you really to understand that your creativity is unique unto you. Yes, there is an energy and a flow of the creative process. Yes, there is an energy and flow to creativity, and you all have it. And it's about finding your zone and being able to be in that energy. And everyone has it, and everyone can do that. Excuse me. I don't know. I was going to sneeze and then it didn't come out. Okay. So, um, yes, so creativity can take us to our unlimited potential. And that is the power of tapping into your creative energy and your creativity. Okay. Excuse me. My allergies are bothering me. So please bear with me. Okay. And and as always, I love answering your questions. So if there's more questions that come up as I'm answering or anything else that comes up, please feel free to ask away. Misty's question: can you talk about the different types of creativity and how people can use them in their life, please? Okay. So, different types of creativity. So, I talked about the energy that we're all manifestors. We are all creative because we are actually manifesting our lives. And sometimes it's conscious, and a lot of times it's not conscious. And the more that you work on clearing those limiting beliefs and the emotions, the more conscious you can become to create and manifest what you want in your life. So you have that type of creativity. And then you have creativity. You can be creative in problem solving. So let's say you have a problem and you cannot I think it was Einstein, all right, and I may not be quoting this directly, but it's something, the quote is something like, if you think that you can solve your problem from the same state of consciousness that it came from, that's the definition of insanity. But you can solve your problems when you open to creativity. And so creative problem solving is another form of creativity. And then you have creative process or creations, people who are creative, and every single one of you has something, I bet you do, that's creative that you may not even define as creative, but you're creating. So I mentioned before cooking. I know that when I'm cooking, I can be a very creative person. And when I'm cooking, I like to mix this spice or that spice. I'll just kind of get in the creative energy, and I'm in cooking mode. And that my food comes out and it's a creation. Or artists are creating their art, musicians creating their music, writers are creating their writing. And you may be in creation. There may be some artistic form that wants to come through. But I also realized that the work that I do as a healer, when I'm working with a client and I am in the energy, and I am in the energy of presence, because part of the creative process is being present. You're in that energy of presence, and you're allowing the energy of your sourceness, your creative, that super conscious mind to come through, your higher self, your soul. And when you're in that energy, you so when I'm with my clients, I'll get ideas. So when you're in that creative energy, ideas come through. Your intuition, I really believe intuition and creativity They're like this. You can't separate them out, because when you're in the creative process, all of a sudden you may get an intuitive hit or an idea, like an aha. That is intuition coming through the creative process. So when you're in that energy, so as a healer, you can be in healing mode and you're in the creative process. When you're at work, maybe you're at work, or anything can be a creation. Being a parent, being having a relationship, doing a specific job or task or anything can become a creative process. So, Misty, I hope that answered your question. And again, if you had any other questions around what I just said, let me know. So anything can be a creative process, really. And how do you know you're in the creative process? You know that you're in a creative process when the best way for me to describe it is you're in this energy of flow. Your things just happen easily, and also know that when you're in the creative process and when you're tapping into your intuition or you're in your creative genius, that's also the energy of magic and miracles. That's when the magic and miracles can happen for you in your life and in your business. So that is the power of tapping into your creative flow and allowing that energy of creation to flow. It's really exciting and it's very powerful. So let's talk about what would block you from being in that energy of flow. Well, blocks are fear. So if you feel fear that, let's say there's something, let's say, okay, coming back to problem solving, because we all have problems or challenges that we need to overcome in our life and our business. So we're going to have situations or challenges that we need to get in touch with or figure out or discover how to break through and create new solutions for the challenges or the problems. And instead of problem, I like to say challenge. So if you hear me say challenge more than problem, that is the reason why. So when you're in that energy and you really want to find a creative solution, one of the things that can really stop you is fear factor. And fear can shut you down, because if you start saying, I can't, and we were talking about this before, like last week or the week before, about stopping yourself from being in that authentic you. And when you say to yourself, I can't do this, or I can't make this happen, or I can never paint a picture, and there's a part of you, I'll give you an example. There's a part of you that may be a painter, but and you've always wanted to paint or maybe draw, and you always had that desire. Now, I believe that desire somehow is coming from a calling of your soul. Now, this is a majority of the time. Am I saying this isn't all of the time? No, but a lot of the time, that desire is coming from that deeper part of you. And then what happens is you feel the fear or the self-doubt. And you say to yourself, no, I can't, I don't have it in me. I just don't have the talent to be a painter like Picasso, or, think of any famous painter. Okay, so you may not be a painter like Picasso or any of the other famous artists or painters. Van Gogh, or I'm trying to think of painters right now. Anyway, so you don't need to be. You're not meant to be like them. And this is about every single aspect of your creative process. You are meant to be you. And your creations are not meant to be like other people's creations. So when you start feeling fear like, oh, I can't do this, or I'll never measure up, that competitive, that comparison, and the comparing and the competition, that shuts you down. And I really want you to know that Michelangelo, thank you. Misty, I was trying to think of other painters. Michelangelo is a great example. You don't have to be a Michelangelo. You're not meant to be. You are meant to be you. And if you have a sense like you want to paint or draw, you need to find a way to allow yourself to express that creative desire. Maybe try a class. But it's the fear and the doubt. The fear and the doubt will shut you down. And so, please start reframing the fear and the doubt and start thinking differently. So fear and doubt, perfectionism. This is a real creative killer. If you think you have to get it right or be perfect, and it has to be a perfect creation. So whether it's a piece of art or whether a music or whether a cooking thing or whether it's your life or a relationship or something you're working on manifesting, there is no perfection. Let it be what it is. And perfectionism shuts you down. And if you think that you need to be perfect, you don't. You just need to be you. And you need to share and allow yourself to share and express and be authentically you. So stop trying to be perfect. And then you want to understand, okay, so there's techniques and things that you can say to yourself to turn it around, but you also want to understand where those creative blocks came from. Now, this is what I talk about, like when I'm talking about your past, and that's the subconscious, because when you're in the fear or the perfectionism or the self-doubt, ask yourself, where did this begin? Or what made me start to doubt myself as a creator? Or what made me start to doubt myself, period? And then allow yourself to see if you can go back to a time and a place, and imagine redoing it. Now, your imagination is key in the creative process. Your imagination is what makes us different than the animal kingdom. It's what makes us different and unique as human beings. And so, tapping in to your imagination and allowing yourself to redo the scene and create new beliefs. So, for example, I'm going to give you an example so that it will help you. So let's take perfectionism. So let's say, and I'm going to create a story. Okay, I'm being creative. I'm going to create a name, and I'm going to create a story to give you an example. Let's say we have Carly. Okay, Carly. Now, Carly wanted to really open up her creativity. She knew that she was creative and she wanted to become even more creative. She knew that there were things that she was meant to express, but she felt she had to be perfect. And so Carly shut it down. And when she thought about being creative, she felt so blocked. She just felt numb. She, tapping into that, it was just like there was nothing there. She felt like an empty shell. And what she was saying to herself, the belief was, if I'm not perfect, I'm not going to be loved. I'm not going to be loved. And the reason why she believed that is when she was growing up, her mother was very critical. Carly, do this. Carly, you better get. She would bring home a B, and Carly would bring home a B or a B plus or an A minus, and her mother would say, "Why didn't you get an A or an A plus? What's wrong with you? Why can't you be perfect?" And so her mother had these really high expectations for her. And so what happened was Carly began to internalize, I have to be perfect. Because if I'm not perfect, I'm not going to be loved. I'll never be good enough. So if you grew up with a critical parent, so it could be a mother, it could be a father, it could be a caretaker, it could be the school, a teacher. Anybody could have affected you through the years. And you started to take it on. If I'm not perfect, I'm maybe, and sometimes that's related to, if I'm not perfect, I'm going to fail. So why bother trying? That's another thing that's common. And I'm getting these things from people that I've worked with through the years. And so, no, so what happened was Carly and I would work together, and we worked on helping her to reparent herself because she had the critical voice of her mother telling her she had to be perfect. And there was a lot of fear in there too, and self-doubt, because anytime she came up with an idea or anything, she started shutting herself down. And as we worked together, as she started healing and replaying and redoing her past and becoming more present instead of dealing with her past and her trauma and what her mom said, she started reparenting herself and telling herself new things like, I am perfect as I am, or I am who I am, and I am loved for who I am. I am good enough as I am. And my creations are good enough. Or my creations are an expression of my unique self. And all those affirmations, all those things are ways to reaffirm those old beliefs. Now, I really believe that having those new beliefs is really an important piece of the process, but you also want to do the deeper healing so that you can clear those old energies to help you to move forward in that energy of ease and flow. All right. So, and I am going to talk a little bit about another way that you can get into the creative flow by my meditation that I created. See, I created it for you. And the meditation it's the intuitive decision making meditation. And that meditation can help you get into that creative flow, can help you problem solve all the stuff because you're tapping into intuition. And when you're tapping into your intuition, you're tapping into the energy of your unlimited self, your potential. And so you want to, and what in the meditation, we talk about clearing, connecting with your higher self so that you can really feel more of who you are. And then you want to move and listen for the communication that your higher self is bringing you. So go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. meditation. So the name of the show, inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. And Rebel just put it up on the screen for those of you who are viewing, and for those of you who are listening. Go to inspiredandempoweredliving.com/meditation. And also you can get a download, a PDF, and it's now in the chat as well. So definitely you want to have the meditation or the PDF that can really help you tap more into that creative flow. It can be one of your first steps to help you get there. So another practical tool for you is, and being able to break through the barriers, is the 5-second rule. So when doubt creeps in, and here's the thing, and I can't even begin to tell you how many people I have worked with, including myself, that you'll get an idea, a creative idea, you'll get an inspiration, because God, angels, universe is constantly inspiring us and empowering us. That's what inspired and empowered living is all about. You can get like an inspiration or an intuitive hit, and all of a sudden you'll be like, nope, you start doubting. And so instead of going into the doubt and getting locked into the doubt, what you want to do is you want to count down. This is the 5-second rule of counting down. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Take an action, a positive action. Okay. Now, what I mean by a positive action is you want to do something that's going to help with the inspiration and empowerment. You do not want to do anything destructive. Destructive actions are not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about an inspired action where, let's say you had an idea all of a sudden to pick up a piece of paper or a journal and start writing, and just writing. And you start writing. So after the 5 seconds, instead of going into the doubt, just write. Or maybe it's making a creation of cooking or a painting or drawing or playing a piece of music, an instrument. Stop doubting after the 5 seconds and just doing. Let the creative process, let yourself be inspired. And that can help you to get back into the flow of the creative process. And here's the thing. The bottom line is that when you are shut down, when you allow those fears or the doubts or the lack or the limitation to stop you, you are hurting yourself. And I really want to support all of you in knowing that you can do it, that each and every one of you can overcome. And the words that are coming to me, overcome the impossible and make it possible. When you get into that creative process, now another way that you can get into the creative process, like creative problem solving. So another way is, if before you go to bed at night and you think about the problem or the challenge that you have, that you want to overcome, and you're going to ask, and you can call in your higher self, you can call in your soul, you can call in God or higher power or the universe. You can call in your angels and guides and beings of light. And you're going to call them in and you're going to ask, help me solve this problem. Help me solve this challenge in a new creative way, a way that I could have never, ever thought of before. And you may need to do it a few nights in a row, or you may get up the first night or the first morning and all of a sudden you get an idea. Now, I really want to support you. If you get an idea that sounds totally out of the blue, write it down and ask yourself, how can I make this idea happen? And then I'm going to support you in brainstorming. You know, when you're doing brainstorming, you don't shut anything down. You just write and you just let the energy flow. Brainstorming is actually a creative process of allowing possibilities to flow. And so just allow that to happen. And so know that you can allow yourself to be in that process. And you may keep asking until you get a solution that feels right to you. You may get several solutions. Maybe you need to try different ones. And so that's what I really want to support all of you in doing, is being open to possibilities that you may not have been open to before. And so today we really just talked about breaking through the barriers. And there's so much more I want to talk to you about the creative process and creativity, because it is how you live your life. It's all about becoming more inspired and empowered. When you're in that creative flow, when you're in creative freedom, that you are tapping into your unlimited potential. And that's what I want for all of you. And so we're going to continue this discussion. And of course, you can always ask your questions. You know, I love your questions. That we're going to continue this next week for more inspired and empowered living and the creative process, creative freedom. and unlocking your unlimited potential. And allow yourself to be in possibility. And I'd love to hear what happened over the course of the week, if any of you were able to open perhaps more to the creative process or your creative flow. So join me next Thursday at 5 p.m. Eastern on talk4tv.com, w4wn.com, my YouTube channel. And you can find the podcasts on iHeartRadio, Spotify, Pandora, Apple, Amazon, and many more. And I am looking forward to connecting with you more next week for more inspired and empowered living for a thriving business and life. Have a great and inspired and empowered day, evening, and week. Bye for now.